My name is Rachel Goldberg. I'm Hirsch's mom. I guess should I start with what happened starting Saturday morning? I was upstairs in my house in Jerusalem. I knew that Hirsch and a friend of his were sleeping out, camping somewhere. I didn't know exactly where. I normally don't use my phone on the Jewish Sabbath, but it was an emergency and I needed to know where my son was. So I turned my phone on, I believe at 8:23 in the morning. And when I turned it on, there were two texts in a row from Hirsch at 8:11. The first one said, "I love you." And immediately at 8:11 also it said, "I'm sorry." And so I knew immediately wherever he was, it was a terrible situation. I took it to mean, I love you and I'm sorry because whatever is going to happen is going to cause you tremendous pain and worry. We've since found out from putting together eyewitnesses from a picture from inside of a bomb shelter that we saw. We tried to put together who was in that bomb shelter with him. We've spoken to eyewitnesses. We know that he was injured in a gun battle. I mean, they were all civilians at a music festival. They were fish in a barrel, sitting in this bomb shelter. Terrorists came to the door. They were throwing grenades in, shooting machine guns. And we know that Hirsch's arm from the elbow down was severed, was blown off, and that he tied a tourniquet around with his shirt. And Hamas came in after the gunfire settled down and said, anyone who can walk, stand up and walk out. We are told that he was completely calm. I think he was probably in shock. And he got up and he walked out with 5 other people, young people from the music festival, 2 young women, 3 other young men. They were put on a pickup truck and driven away by Hamas. Then the police told us one thing they knew is that the last known cell signal from his phone was on the border with Gaza.
From the journalists, we're going to start with Becky Anderson from CNN. We're going to go one by one. Please, when you...
As this strategy was unfolded on Saturday morning, me and my other siblings were talking to my mom on the phone, trying to calm her down. Things were sort of calm when she heard a lot of gunfire outside of her shelter, and we tried to calm her down. That's when I dropped off the call. And both my brother and my sister were on the call with her as the terrorist barged into her home. And we heard a little bit of screaming, and that was our last contact with her. There was no shooting on the call, and the neighbors downstairs also didn't hear any shooting. My mom used the little bit of Arabic that she picked up working as a nurse in the hospital in Soroka for 20 years to calm down the terrorists. And it is our hope, which is a little bit ridiculous at this stage to say that the optimistic scenario is that she's held hostage in Gaza and not dead on the street of the kibbutz where we grew up. You guys want to comment? Good.
Itai, my son, joined the army about a year ago. He's in the armed corps. He was serving on the border of Gaza. The last time that we heard from him was Saturday morning, where he said that they were under attack. We know that he was active, that he was in communication for a while, but since then, silence. The formal indication that we received from the IDF is that he is defined as missing in action. What does that mean? It means that nobody since Saturday morning has been able to physically locate him, identify him, and say that he saw him. It also means that he's not in the hospital. It also means that he's not on the deceased list that has been identified.
You know, there are moments in this life, and I mean this literally, when the pure, unadulterated evil is unleashed on this world. The people of Israel lived through one such moment this weekend. The bloody hands of the terrorist organization Hamas, a group whose stated purpose for being is to kill Jews. This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel. Among them, at least 14 American citizens killed. So in this moment, we must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. And when Congress returns, we're going to ask them to take urgent action to fund the national security requirements of our critical partners. This is not about party or politics. This is about the security of our world, the security of the United States of America. We now know that American citizens are among those being held by Hamas. I've directed my team to share intelligence and deploy additional experts from across the United States government to consult with and advise Israeli counterparts on hostage recovery efforts. We're also taking steps at home. In cities across the United States of America, police departments have stepped up security around centers of Jewish life. The Department of Homeland Security and the Federal Bureau of Investigation are working closely with state and local law enforcement and Jewish community partners to identify and disrupt any domestic threat that could emerge in connection with these horrific attacks.
I will tell you that since the very beginning, I've been engaged with Minister of Defense, Minister Gallant, on a daily basis. And my focus is to make sure that we do everything we can as quickly as we can to support Israel as they defend their sovereign territory. Now, they've worked hard and stabilized things a bit. They've re-secured the southern end of the country there that Hamas had breached, and now they're going to focus on the next steps. And I'll let the Israelis speak for themselves in terms of what those steps would be. My focus is on making sure we can do everything we can do to help contain this to a point where it doesn't spread throughout the region, and also we do everything we can to support Israel in its efforts. That's providing security assistance, whatever intelligence, logistics that we can provide to help them out, and also to protect our people throughout the region in the event that other things begin to happen throughout the region. And our message is we take this very seriously, and we discourage, as you heard the President say the other day, we strongly discourage others from joining in and trying to influence this conflict. We also have the ability to rapidly deploy other resources into the region, and so we'll remain focused on this, and we'll remain focused on supporting our Israeli partners. Yeah, we don't have any fidelity on the exact number of potential American hostages. You should know, though, that we are absolutely focused on this, and our intelligence community is working hard to gain as much fidelity as possible. When I spoke to Minister Galan on Sunday, I offered our assistance, our special operators, the help from our special operators, our intelligence community in planning and developing intelligence to help in this endeavor. And so I just spoke with them again about an hour ago, and we talked about this again. And that, not only are we offering the help, we have people on the ground that have a small cell, the liaison cell that has established contact with his operators, his special operators, and we'll continue to help with intelligence and planning as things go along.
The United States has always and will always have Israel's back. And to those families undergoing the unfathomable pain of having loved ones missing, our hearts go out to you. We cannot imagine the anguish you must be feeling right now. We know that U.S. citizens are among the missing, and we know that U.S. citizens, as the President just said, are among the hostages. We are working with the Israeli government and with our regional partners on every aspect of the hostage crisis, including sharing intelligence and deploying experts from across the U.S. government to advise the Israeli government and coordinate with them on hostage recovery efforts. As the President just said, there is no higher priority than the safety and well-being of American citizens being held hostage overseas.
About several or a dozen hostages, and do you know anything about their condition at all?
We do not know about their condition, and we cannot confirm a precise number of American citizens. We believe that there are 20 or more Americans who at this point are missing, but I want to underscore and stress that does not mean necessarily that there are 20 or more American hostages. Just that is the number who are currently unaccounted for. We will work hour by hour both to determine whether we can account for any of those Americans or to confirm exactly what the number of Americans are being held hostage, and we will come back to you with that information as soon as we have it.
Hamas to ISIS? What does that say about the U.S. approach to Hamas going forward?
Well, we have labeled Hamas a terrorist group for years, if not decades, and we have consistently supported Israel in its efforts to fight back against and undermine Hamas, and we will continue to do so. In the immediate term, what it means is working with Israel to ensure that they are able to go after that Hamas threat in Gaza effectively, relentlessly, and to the point where they feel that their security and their deterrence has been fully restored.
Just one for clarity. The Iron Dome replenishment, has it already arrived or is it on its way?
Some of the interceptors have come out of stocks that the U.S. had in country. So those have gone over to the Israelis in short order, and then we will be flowing in additional Iron Dome interceptors so that they have the capabilities they need to sustain their Iron Dome defense systems. We are also looking at other ways that we can help augment their air defense capabilities as well as we look ahead, not just to what's happening now, but to potential contingencies that could unfold.
Right, I guess in simple terms, how much retaliation in Gaza is the U.S. willing to accept?
I don't think of this in terms of retaliation. This is about providing support to Israel as it seeks to defend its territory and deal with an ongoing imminent threat from Hamas terrorists who, as I said before, are acting a heck of a lot like ISIS terrorists in their barbarity and cruelty. That requires going after Hamas terrorist targets in Gaza, because even as we speak, even as I stand here, there could be rockets flying out of Gaza. Going after those sites, that's not retaliation. That's Israel stepping up to defend itself and ensure the safety and security of the Israeli people. And we're going to support them for as long as they need to ensure that Israel is safe and secure. And I can't put a timetable on that.
So where do you draw the line? Is there a red line, and where do you draw that line of what you need to accomplish?
I'm not standing up here to draw red lines. What I'm standing up here to say is that in its hour of need, as Israel embarks on an operation to try to protect its country, protect the Jewish state of Israel, and to go after the threats that it faces, and also working closely with them hand in hand to try to secure the release and recovery of American and other hostages. We will do all of that, and I'm not here to draw red lines or issue warnings or give lectures to anybody. I'm here to say that the President has given us direction to take a series of actions. We are undertaking those actions, and we will continue to do so in the weeks ahead.
How can you make sure that this is not revenge, but actually going after Hamas, who committed this horrible crime?
Well, as the President said today, the difference between countries like the United States and Israel is that we do not deliberately target civilians. We are strongest when we are committed to the rule of law, and we work to make sure that all military operations are conducted consistent with the rule of law and the law of war. That is something that President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu have discussed, not just in this context, but in previous contexts as well. That is something the United States has always stood for and always will continue to stand for. Yeah, thanks.
Jake, if Israel strikes Iran, what level of support can they count on from the U.S.?
Good afternoon, everyone. You heard President Biden speak very powerfully and very clearly to the pure evil that we've seen inflicted on Israel over the last few days. And he was very clear that we stand with Israel. And that's a message that he's asked me to carry directly to our Israeli partners when I travel to the region a little bit later this week. In the meantime, we're also very engaged with partners throughout the region, as well as, of course, looking out for American citizens, families who have had loved ones killed or have loved ones missing. I have a lot more to say about that tomorrow and in the days ahead.
The Yemeni-led political process under the auspices of the United Nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.